Well, I mean, obviously playing a top five team with a lot of returning guys and a good recruiting class at any time of the year is difficult, but certainly to start the season, it presents some challenges. But I think, probably for any team that plays their first game of the season, particularly this early, November 5th, there's challenges for everybody in all different areas. So what's unique, I think, and kind of cool, the excitement surrounding the ACC network, the start of the season. There are some programs that always play a game like this. You look at the Champions Classic and the type of games that they start the season on. So I think what's great for the league is, and including us, obviously, with this game, is, you get to start the season with some real excitement.
Chris, you guys, I know you always are very meticulous about how you put together the schedule every year and the non-conference schedule out.
Sure.
Control over.
Yeah.
It seems like this year it's more difficult than normal. I think even Jim alluded to that. Like, how did you guys decide you wanted to go about it this season versus past seasons?
Well, I think you study the 20 conference game season. The Big Ten had that last year, I believe. And so you try to look at some of the metrics and see, okay, how did that affect the Big Ten in terms of, the games that, they played? Where were they valued as it related to, RPI and the net and things like that? But it definitely takes away a little bit of flexibility in the non-conference when you think about having those 20 games. Then you have the ACC Big Ten game. You're going to play in an exempt event. We like to play, up in the Northeast where a lot of our alums are and a lot of our recruits are from. So you're going to play at Barclays against a quality opponent. And you just start getting down to, okay, how many home games you do owe your team and your fans some home games in the non-conference. And so you just start looking at that, and it gives you less flexibility as it relates to the non-conference schedule. But you're still cognizant of, what type of effect does that have on the RPI and the net. And I think, with the net, we're all still trying to figure out exactly what that means. So, yeah, it's definitely a little bit different. And I think it can really benefit the league, obviously.
When you look at Louisville, what do they do well? What impresses you about them? What challenges will they present?
Sure. Well, I think the continuity that they have with some of their key guys, whether it be, obviously Nawara, Enoch, Perry, McMahon. Williams is not going to play. It appears he's out for a few weeks. But just in general, when you look at them as a preseason favorite, the continuity that they have, which in our league, as you guys know, that doesn't happen a lot, right? Our league loses far more guys to the NBA than most. So if you get a guy like Jordan Nawara back, that's a huge boost to your team because there are many scenarios, situations where he's not back. And so the continuity that they have, along with a very strong recruiting class, obviously with a great coaching staff, they give themselves a chance to be picked where they're picked and have a really good outlook for their season because of the what they have coming back and their continuity.
How do you think you guys match up to them? How do you see the matchups with the guys that you have now and Raptor in the middle and some of the
Sure. Well, certainly, I think looking back on last year's game, it was early in conference play, but we jumped out in a big lead, and it's a great environment to play in. But we could see as a group that with our 7 guys, I think in that game, and I actually think Chris may have been cramping late in the game. Like you could almost see us run out of gas as that second half went on, and obviously giving up the lead. So. For us in general to have more guys, a little bit more depth, even though there's a lot of new guys, the freshmen and obviously Cam, haven't been here but not played. So we're still new to each other in a lot of ways. But I think maybe a little bit more flexibility as it relates to, matchups and substitutions and coach's ability to look to the bench and potentially have an answer for something. And I think the other thing too, when you're down the amount of guys we were last year, I'm sure coaches alluded to this, like it's hard to ask guys to play as free of mind and as hard as they need to play because you're always thinking about foul trouble. And no matter how hard you would like them to play, in the back of their minds, they're always probably thinking to themselves, I gotta keep something in the tank here. And that doesn't lead to great performance, obviously. You want guys to be able to play as hard as they can for as long as they can, and knowing that, hey, someone can come sub you out and then we'll get you back in the game. And I think when you're down to 7 guys, it's obviously, it doesn't allow for that. So let me do my math here. How many we play the other night? How many we play?
You had 11 of us the other
Yeah, however many guys played the other night, we would have the ability to play. Obviously, the walk-ons are in a little bit different situation, but I think it's 9, and then when Keith Stone comes back, that could even get to 10. So, that just the 9 or 10 gives you a little bit more flexibility. Sometimes, I know coach, would say, I think a lot of coaches would say, after 8 it gets difficult, which is kind of funny. 7 is a problem, 8's great, 9 it's a little bit more difficult, 10 really difficult in terms of subbing. It's not it's a 40-minute game, not a 48-minute game. In the NBA, you could play maybe the 9th guy or what have you.
You mentioned Keith Stone. How far along is he with?
Yeah, I don't have like an update right now exactly, but he's progressing. So we're assuming we'll see him, certainly in the non-conference and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Has he been able to do?
He's been on the court doing some like what we would consider dummy offense and non-contact type stuff, but he has been on the court doing some things.
You talk about the sort of the energy and the urgency going into this opening game, which is such a huge game to open the season as opposed to previous years, just a regular opener.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to create an environment here where all games are big. I think that's a mistake to feel like, hey, this one's bigger than the next. But certainly a conference game, against this type of opponent, there's going to be some urgency. I think there's urgency from everybody in the program to, get playing again after last season. And while I thought we gave great effort and we had great attitudes last year, I think everybody feels like, look, we want to get ourselves back to where we were, which is, at the top of the league. And so this is our first opportunity to do it. And it's very early on. And I think the good thing is you really get to see where you're at. That's probably a cliche, but it's true. You get a feel for where you're at as compared to the competition in the league.
Ken Wigowski, just what kind of boost does he provide? Scoring wing, and how does he complement the games of Chris Legs?
Yeah, well, I think he's a willing passer. At his size, even though he can score, he's shown the ability, kind of maybe similar to Bruce in that sense, where you can, with the size that he can see some things at a pick and roll and make some reads at 6'5" or 6" that, sometimes the smaller guys can't make. Certainly, he's in line with the guys we've had, I think, on the wing. We've had so many good guys in that 6'5", 6'6", category. We're going back to, Durant Scott and Trey McKinney-Jones and Ryan Brown, and then into Sheldon McClellan and Davon Reed and Bruce Brown and Lonnie Walker. I mean, I think Cam is in that mold. None of these guys are exactly the same, but he's that type of player where I think he can defend, 3 or 4 positions when he's engaged, and then also, play with and without the ball. So it gives us a guard with a little bit more size, obviously, than DJ and Chris.
Chris, Alex wasn't exactly short, but I mean, Jim will be fine to coach.
Yes, yeah.
How important is it to have the crowd tomorrow night and the students and all that? Because, that's always an
Sure.
issue here.
Sure.
How big of a deal is it going to be for you guys to have?
Yeah, I think it's tremendously important. I think in our league, the margin for error is so small. And the one thing that you have to be able to develop, and we've developed it here and hope to continue to have it as a consistent thing, is if you can give yourself a great home court advantage, that gives you a tremendous boost. Because, again, the margin is so small. The places that you're going to play in the league as a road team are, not only are they really tough environments. I mean, they're the environments in college basketball in many ways, and it doesn't matter if it's a place that's got 7,000 or 8,000 seats or a place that's got like 20,000+ seats like we play in. I think you can have a really good team, you can have a really good coach, you can have a great schedule, but when you've created a great home court environment, when it's hostile, you really almost need that. That's almost just part of what you have to be amongst the best teams in our league.
Louisville's talking about that Super 6 recruiting class or whatever, but I mean, nobody talks about your guys' true,
We like that. We like that. We like that nobody talks about them.
From everything that we've sort of heard and seen from your true freshmen, they're going to have pretty big impacts, at least 2 or 3 of them, right? So, I mean, can you talk about those guys a little bit and sort of how much they can help even in year one?
Well, I think obviously they're going to have the opportunity to earn a lot of playing time. Given the roster, and earn is the key word. I mean, coach is not going to give anything to anybody. Nothing was promised to anybody. But I think guys, when they're looking at our situation, certainly could see, hey, there's an opportunity there to earn some minutes. And I think each of them in their own ways, they're all athletic for their size and position. I think that's a key. That was something we feel like we needed. They're all really, I think, good guys. They're very coachable. They want to be good players. We're being very hard on them in terms of learning how to defend and compete at this level, only because we know that they're going to get thrown into the fire pretty early. This is not a situation where anybody's got a ton of time for them to develop, because they're going to get thrown into the fire. But I think they're in line with a lot of the guys that we've brought in here. They're good kids. They want to be good players. They've got some positional size and athleticism. And I think, down the road, each of them, there's a path for those guys to become really good players here.
Do you view them as players that would have really pushed for time even on deeper teams?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, but again, I think everyone's got their own path. Each of those 3 guys has their own path as to how they can best make an impact. But I think you saw it in the exhibition. They have some gifts and they have some things that they can do that hopefully can translate. But like most freshmen, they got to learn how to play as hard as they can. They got to learn how to defend their position. They got to learn to play through adversity. This will be a totally new experience for them tomorrow. And while Italy was great and playing in a scrimmage game and an exhibition game are great, I mean, for them tomorrow, this is going to be a totally different experience. So it'll just be another step along their path.
What's the key to stopping Jordan Nwora, preseason ACC Player of the Year?
Sure. Well, I think, for him, he's such a good shooter with range. If he gets enough attempts, he's going to make shots. He's not limited to just shooting. I think he's shown the ability to put the ball on the ground and make you pay for, your closeouts. And so, I think you gotta be really aware of him wherever he is on the court, starting in transition. I think you've got to make it difficult, and while you're going to try to limit catches and things like that, he's going to catch the ball some. And how difficult can you make it for him is the question. How many times can you get a hand where the shot's contested versus uncontested? And that's difficult because of the distance he can shoot from. I mean, quite frankly, you look at some of the shots he made against us last year at their place. I mean, they were on the Cardinal. And so, he's a difficult matchup because he's a very, very skillful player. They have a great system to create good-looking shots for him, and he's not a one-man show. I think it's very easy when, if it's one guy, and through the years we've played against people like this, we felt like, man, let's see if the other guys can beat us. I think Louisville obviously has proven that they have other guys on the court that can beat you. So a lot of problems that he presents, but I think our guys are super aware and excited about the challenge.